Welcome home, Heartland family, to Next Scene, the place where stories aren't just watched, they're felt deep in the soul. I'm your host, Emma, and today's episode is more than just a recap. It's a celebration, a homecoming, a long-awaited miracle that fans like you and me have held onto with hope in our hearts and tears in our eyes. Because today, we are diving into Ty Borden's breathtaking return in Heartland Season 19, Episode 1. Yes, Ty is back. And this isn't just a twist in the script. It's the rekindling of a love story that defied time, tragedy, and the odds. It's the revival of a bond between Amy and Ty that never truly broke. It's about Lindy getting the moment she and all of us have been dreaming of. This isn't just fiction. It feels like fate finally giving us something back. We're going to break down every powerful scene, every quiet glance, and every word that carried years of longing. This episode reminds us why Heartland is more than just a show. It's a piece of our hearts. So, before we step into this emotional whirlwind together, do me a favor, comment, and subscribe to Next Scene. Because here, we don't just talk about Heartland, we live it. We cry with it. We heal with it. And most importantly, we hold on to the hope it gives us. Now go grab your favorite cozy blanket, maybe that old hoodie that feels like a hug, and yes, absolutely bring the tissues. Because this journey, this reunion, it's going to reach places in your heart you might have forgotten were even still open. The opening of Season 19, Episode 1 is like a love letter to Heartland itself. It's quiet, it's aching, and it's filled with an almost unbearable sense of waiting. We see the ranch bathed in early morning light, the dew clinging to the grass, the horses grazing in the distance, and in every frame, there's this unspoken feeling that something is missing. Someone is missing. Amy is tending to the horses like she always does, her hands strong and sure, but there's a deep loneliness in her eyes that she tries to hide even from herself. Jack sits on the porch, his familiar hat tipped low, his hands busy whittling a piece of wood. But even he seems lost in thought, staring into the horizon as if expecting a figure to appear any minute. Inside the house, Lou is moving briskly through emails and phone calls, but even her sharp focus seems a little forced. Lindy runs through the fields, laughing and chasing butterflies, her carefree joy a bright contrast to the heaviness that the adults seem to carry. The writers lay down tiny clues, an old photo of Ty tucked into Amy's journal, a well-worn jacket hanging by the door, little reminders that though Ty has been gone, he was never truly forgotten. It's as if Heartland itself has been holding its breath, waiting for the impossible to happen. It happens not during a dramatic storm or a major event, but on an ordinary afternoon in the middle of a normal day that was supposed to be like any other. Amy is brushing Spartan in the barn, humming a quiet tune under her breath, lost in her thoughts, when she hears footsteps behind her. She smiles softly, assuming it's Jack or maybe Tim coming to check in. But then, a voice she hasn't heard outside of her dreams for years, says, "Amy." The voice trembles. The brush falls from Amy's hand, landing soundlessly on the hay-covered floor as her entire body goes rigid. She turns slowly, her heart pounding so loudly she can barely hear anything else. And when her eyes land on the figure standing there, time itself seems to stop. It's Ty. It's really Ty. Older, yes, and changed by the years, but still her Ty. Still, the man she loved with everything she had. For a long moment, neither of them moves, both frozen by the sheer impossibility of it all. Then Amy takes a shaky step forward, tears filling her eyes so quickly she can barely see. And when she finally whispers Ty, it's not just a word. It's a breath she's been holding for years. The next moment, Ty crosses the distance between them, and in a flood of sobs and gasps, prayers of thanks, Amy throws herself into his arms. And for the first time in so long, she feels whole again. Later, After the initial shock has worn off just enough for them to sit down, Amy and Ty find themselves on the back porch. The familiar creak of the wooden boards beneath their feet grounds them in a reality that still feels like a dream. They sit side by side, not touching at first, the space between them filled with unspoken questions, fears, and desperate hope. Ty's voice is rough when he begins, like he's speaking through a throat clogged with years of swallowed emotions. He explains how, after the incident that almost claimed his life, he was pulled into a situation bigger than himself, into a government protection program, a world of secrecy, hiding, and survival. It wasn't a choice he made lightly. It was something he did because he believed it was the only way to keep Amy and Lindy safe. Ty talks about nights spent alone, clutching a photo of Amy and Lindy to his chest, whispering promises to the stars that he would find his way back. He tells Amy that every day was a battle, not just for survival, but for hope, for the sliver of faith that somehow, someday, he would stand on the porch of Heartland again. Amy listens, the tears never really stopping, her heart breaking for all he suffered, but also beginning to heal with the knowledge that even though he was gone, he never stopped loving her, never stopped fighting for their family. And when he says, "I never stopped coming home to you, even if it was only in my dreams," Amy couldn't hold back a sob, leaning into him, clutching his hand like she might lose him again if she let go. The sun hung low over Heartland, casting a warm golden glow across the familiar ranch. Lindy, barely 9 years old, but wise in ways that only life on the ranch could teach, was out in the yard brushing her pony when she saw him. At first, Lindy's small face scrunched in puzzlement, her brow furrowing as she squinted into the golden haze of the afternoon sun. He was just a distant figure at first, nothing more than a shadow walking against the shimmer of the horizon. But even before her mind could make sense of what her eyes were seeing, her heart knew. Something deep within her, something instinctual and unshakable, whispered his name. Her paintbrush slipped from her tiny fingers, landing silently in the dirt like a feather falling from the sky. The world around her seemed to still. The chirping birds, the rustling trees, the gentle breeze, they all quieted in that moment of pure, stunned disbelief. She stood frozen, her breath caught in her chest, her heart pounding so loud it echoed in her ears. And then, without warning, without a single word, Lindy ran. She ran like the earth itself couldn't hold her back. Her boots thudded against the dry soil, puffs of dust rising behind her with every step. Her little arms flailed with urgency, her breath hitching, her cheeks streaked with tears, not from pain, but from a love so fierce it overwhelmed her small body. This was not the run of a child. It was the flight of a soul finding its missing piece. She didn't pause. She didn't question. She launched herself into Ty's arms with everything she had, colliding with him so hard he staggered back, letting out a choked laugh as he caught her. "Daddy!" she sobbed, her voice breaking like a dam that had held back years of longing. "Daddy, you're home." Those 4 simple words, words born of a child's endless hope, carried the weight of every bedtime story left unfinished, every birthday candle blown out with a wish, every tear shed into her pillow at night. Ty dropped to his knees, his arms locking around her as if letting go would break the world in two. His tears streamed freely now, falling into her hair as he clutched her tighter than he ever had. For a moment, nothing else mattered, not time, not pain, not the lost years. Only this. Only her. A few feet away, Jack stood rooted to the ground, arms crossed loosely over his chest, his cowboy hat casting a shadow over eyes filled with tears. Jack Bartlett was no stranger to life's heartbreaks. He'd endured more than most men, carried his grief like a second skin. But nothing could have prepared him for the emotional tidal wave of seeing his Ty alive, holding Lindy as if he'd never left. Jack's throat constricted, a knot of emotions rising that no words could unravel. Ty had been more than just a ranch hand, more than a friend. He had become family, his family. A boy he'd mentored, molded, believed in when no one else did. A man he'd loved like a son. He took one steadying breath and stepped forward. Without saying a word, Jack placed a strong, weathered hand on Ty's shoulder. Ty looked up, eyes glistening with unshed gratitude, and in that brief, quiet moment, volumes were spoken. "You found your way back, son," Jack finally said, his voice low and hoarse. "That's all that matters now." There was no judgment, no demand for explanation. Just the acceptance of a man who understood that love sometimes meant just being there when it counted. From the porch, Lou stood frozen, her coffee mug forgotten, fingertips trembling against the ceramic. When she saw Ty, her breath caught in her throat like a sob trapped in amber. Her heart ricocheted inside her chest, fighting between disbelief and fragile, aching hope. She had mourned him, truly mourned him for Amy, for Lindy, and for the pieces of their family that had never quite healed. Seeing him now felt like watching a ghost materialize, not just in body, but in spirit. Her practical mind screamed that it couldn't be real, but her soul had already begun to believe. With shaky legs, she descended the steps one at a time. Her eyes locked with Ty's, searching his face, tracing every familiar line, every scar. When she finally reached him, she didn't ask questions. Instead, she opened her arms and pulled him into a fierce, bone-deep hug. "Welcome home, Ty," she whispered, her voice breaking. "We missed you more than you'll ever know." And just like that, the years of pain and confusion gave way to something stronger, faith in the unexplainable. From the edge of the yard, Georgie stood in stunned silence. She was older now, shaped by her own heartbreaks and victories, carrying a tough exterior forged through years of challenge. But when she saw Ty standing there, something inside her, some part of the girl who once idolized him, cracked open. She didn't move at first. She needed to see him. Really see him. But when Ty's familiar, steady gaze met hers and held it, the dam broke. She sprinted toward him, letting out a laugh that tangled with a sob, and flung herself into his arms. "You have no idea how much I needed this," she choked, clutching him like the big brother she'd never stopped missing. Ty smiled, resting his cheek against her hair. For Georgie, who had spent years proving she didn't need anyone, letting herself fall into that embrace was nothing short of healing. Behind them, leaning against the barn door with arms crossed and jaw clenched, Tim watched in silence. His body was still, but inside, he was unraveling. Grief had shaped him into a fortress, and Ty's absence had carved a wound too deep for words. But now, standing just yards away, was the son-in-law he never got the chance to fully say goodbye to. Tim's eyes glistened, but his pride kept them at bay. He pushed off the barn and approached slowly. When Ty turned toward him, there was a long pause, thick with everything they couldn't say. Finally, Tim clapped a hand on Ty's back hard, but steady. "Took you long enough," he muttered gruffly. Ty grinned, hearing everything those few words really meant. "I missed you. I'm glad you're alive. I love you like my own." As night fell and the stars draped the sky over the Heartland ranch, silence settled in. In the stillness of the barn, Amy and Ty stood together, alone at last, two hearts that had never stopped beating for each other. Amy leaned against the wooden stall, her face lit by the soft glow of a lantern. She looked at Ty as if she were trying to memorize him all over again, every line, every scar, every breath. Her voice trembled when she finally spoke. "Why did you stay away for so long?" Ty stepped closer, his expression pained, haunted by every lost moment. "I thought it would protect you," he said quietly. "I didn't want you stuck in a life of waiting and wondering. I tried to be noble, but all I did was leave behind the people I love most." Amy's tears flowed freely, her heart breaking all over again, but this time in the presence of healing. She reached out, touched his face, and whispered, "I never stopped loving you." He gathered her into his arms, gently, as if holding something sacred. "If you'll have me," he said, "I want to come home. To you. To Lindy. To us." Amy nodded through the tears, her lips trembling. "I want that too, Ty. More than anything." And in that barn, surrounded by hay, memories, and love that refused to die, their story began again. Not where it left off, but somewhere even deeper. Somewhere forever. They kissed not with the wild passion of youth, but with the deep, aching tenderness of two souls who had fought every battle and still found their way back to each other. And in that kiss was the promise of healing, of forgiveness, and of a future brighter than anything they had dared to dream. And that brings us to the end of this emotional journey through Ty Borden's grand return in Heartland Season 19, Episode 1. What an incredible, heartwarming moment for Amy, Lindy, and the entire Heartland family. Ty's return reminds us that even after the deepest heartbreaks, love and family can find their way back home. I truly hope you felt every heartbeat and tear right along with me as we explored these unforgettable moments. Ty's return is more than just a plot twist. It's a reminder of the power of love, family, and second chances. If this video touched you, moved you, or simply brought back your love for Heartland, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe to Next Scene. This is where we gather as a community not just to watch, but to feel, to share, and to celebrate the stories that matter to us most. I'd love to hear from you. How did you react to Ty's return? What emotions hit you the hardest? And what are you most hoping to see as Season 19 unfolds? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one, and they mean the world to me. And don't forget to tap that notification bell so you never miss a moment of the magic. We have so much more ahead, more deep dives, more behind-the-scenes insights, and more heartfelt journeys through Heartland's legacy. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for watching, for believing, and for being part of this incredible Next Time family. Until next time, stay safe, stay kind, and always carry a little piece of Heartland with you, wherever life takes you. See you in the next one.